Eric Clapton, the God Who Got Burned, and the Supergroup.
Hi, I'm Anthony from 10 of the Best. Welcome to the channel. Today's deep dive, we explore Eric Clapton.
He was a guitar player who seemed to come from another world. He wasn't just a musician, he was a phenomenon. His blistering solos were so soulful, so powerful, they earned him a title no one had ever dared to give a living artist. On the brick walls of London, scrawled in graffiti, two simple words told you everything you needed to know. Clapton is God. This is the story of how a young man from the English countryside earned a sacred title and how he almost lost it all in a single night.
Before we dive in, let's make a pact. If this video makes you want to go pick up a guitar, give it a like. And if you want to be a part of our musical journey, hit that subscribe button. We're at 1,180 subscribers and growing, and we can't keep doing this without you. Go on, be a god of your own, and ring that bell. Born in Ripley, Surrey, England, Eric Clapton's path to musical greatness was far from a straight line. His childhood was turbulent, marked by a complex family dynamic that left him feeling like an outsider. It was this emotional turmoil that led to his first musical encounter. At the age of 13, he was given a cheap acoustic guitar, and he found himself frustrated and disappointed by it. But he was determined. It was the American blues music of artists like Robert Johnson that spoke to him, not just through the sound, but through the feeling. He found an emotional honesty in the blues that resonated with his own sense of isolation. His guitar became his language, a way to express feelings he couldn't put into words.
Clapton was a purist. He saw blues as a sacred art form, and his refusal to compromise led him to leave two major bands. First, the Yardbirds, when they started making pop songs. Then, with John Mayall's Blues Breakers, he had a brief but incredibly influential stint. It was during this time that he perfected his style. His solos were lean, soulful, and brimming with passion. They were so good, in fact, that it was during his time with John Mayall that the iconic phrase, "Clapton is God," began to appear on walls across London. It was a testament to his sheer talent and his obsessive dedication to the blues.
The year was 1966, and Eric Clapton, the guitar hero of London, was at the peak of his fame. But across the Atlantic, a new, unheard-of talent was arriving. A young man from Seattle named Jimi Hendrix. One night, a mutual friend brought Hendrix to a Cream concert at the London Polytechnic. At first, Clapton was dismissive, but when Hendrix took the stage and launched into a blistering version of Killin' Floor, his entire world changed. As Clapton walked off stage, he muttered, "You never told me he was that good," or "You said he was good, but you didn't say he was that fucking good." Clapton later admitted that he was so floored, so utterly in awe, that he had to walk off stage. He felt humbled and for the first time, not alone in his pursuit of guitar mastery. It was a moment of grace and a powerful reminder that there was always another level of reach.
The encounter with Hendrix was a seismic event for Clapton. It didn't make him doubt his talent, it lit a fire under him. He was inspired to push his own playing to new, more experimental heights, a direct result of seeing Hendrix's genius firsthand. It was this renewed ambition that he channeled into Cream.
The music was gone. The chaos had finally won. After 2 years of earth-shattering performances and a blistering rivalry, Cream had imploded. For Eric Clapton, the man once called God, the silence was deafening. He was the greatest guitarist in the world, but he was also exhausted, lost, and searching for a way forward. How you follow a hurricane? You don't. You try to find a quiet space. Before a musician of his stature, even the quiet was a storm all its own.
The public was clamoring for Clapton's next move, and to many, a supergroup seemed to be the only logical step. He teamed up with his friend Steve Winwood, a young musical prodigy from the band Traffic,
and a powerhouse drummer named Ginger Baker, Clapton's former bandmate from Cream. The name they chose for their band, Blind Faith, was a direct acknowledgement of the pressure they were under. The world had blind faith that this new supergroup would be the next big thing.
Musically, Blind Faith was a fascinating mix. They blended Clapton's blues rock with Winwood's soulful voice and jazz-infused melodies. But the pressure was immense. The band was a flash in the pan. They only released one album and played a handful of shows before breaking up. The very thing that made them so appealing, the supergroup label, was what ultimately suffocated them. Eric Clapton didn't want the spotlight. He wanted to play music, not live up to a title.
Disillusioned, Clapton made a move no one saw coming. He decided to step out of the spotlight and join a touring group called Delaney and Bonnie and Friends as a simple guitarist. He wasn't the star, he wasn't the frontman. He was just a musician in a band, playing his part. This was a pivotal time for Clapton. It was here that he found a musical and personal family. He found a sense of joy in the collaboration that had been missing in the strained, competitive environment of Cream. He loved the freedom of playing a simple, supporting role. It was a period of incredible growth where he rediscovered his passion for music. And it was here that he met the talented musicians who would go on to be a part of his next and most personal musical venture.
The quiet sidekick was ready to step back into the spotlight. But he wasn't alone anymore. He had found a family. But the peace wouldn't last. The next chapter would be filled with both incredible beauty and unimaginable heartbreak. Be sure to tune in for our next episode as we explore the tragic, beautiful story of Eric Clapton, his new band, and the unrequited love that would inspire a masterpiece.
Part 2. The Layla Years and the Love Triangle.
The quiet period was over. The sidekick had returned to the spotlight. But this time, he was bringing a new kind of honesty with him. Fueled by a new group of friends and a love he couldn't have, Eric Clapton was about to create his greatest masterpiece. But with that beauty came a darkness that would almost destroy him. This is the story of Layla and the unrequited love that created a musical fire. If you're captivated by this story, give us a like. And if you want to follow our journey to uncover the greatest musical stories of all time, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're at 1,180 subscribers, and we're so grateful for your support. Go on, join the journey.
After his time with Delaney and Bonnie and Friends, Clapton had a revelation. He wanted to start a band where he was a collaborator, not a star. With Bobby Whitlock on keyboards, Carl Radle on bass, and Jim Gordon on drums, all former members of the Delaney and Bonnie touring band, he formed a new group. He wanted to avoid the supergroup label and play small clubs, so they settled on a name, Derek and the Dominoes. In the studio, the Dominoes were on fire. But a crucial piece of the puzzle arrived when they met guitarist Duane Allman of the Allman Brothers Band. He brought his powerful, soulful slide guitar to the sessions, and the chemistry between him and Clapton was electric. Their twin guitar solos were a conversation, a challenge, and an inspiration. The recording sessions were a feverish blur of creativity, leading to the creation of one of the greatest rock albums of all time, Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs.
But behind the music, a heartbreaking story was unfolding. The album was a cry of unrequited love for Pattie Boyd, the wife of his best friend, George Harrison, of the Beatles. Clapton had been infatuated with her for years, and his obsession consumed him. He poured all of his pain and desperation into the music. The title track, Layla, was directly inspired by a 12th century Arabian tale about a man driven mad by an unattainable woman. He saw himself in the story and Pattie as his Layla.
The pain of his unrequited love was unbearable, and it sent him spiraling. He turned to heroin, and his addiction quickly consumed him. The stress of the band, the heartbreak, and his drug use took their toll. The band members themselves were also struggling with their own demons, and a second album never materialized. Derek and the Dominoes broke up, and Eric Clapton, the man who had the world at his feet, retreated into a self-imposed exile, lost to his addiction. He was now alone with his pain.
He had created a masterpiece, but it came at a devastating cost. The Layla album was a monument to his pain, a brilliant but tragic testament to a man who had lost his way. The next part of his story is a desperate struggle for survival, a battle with his own demons, and a fight to find his way back to the music he loved. Be sure to tune in for our final episode as we cover Eric Clapton's painful road to recovery and his ultimate return to the stage.
Part 3. The solo career and the comeback. The music had stopped, the applause had faded, the lights were out. After years of running from his problems, Eric Clapton finally had to face them. And in doing so, he entered the darkest chapter of his life. Alone and lost in a haze of heroin and alcohol, the man who was once called God was now a recluse, a prisoner of his own pain. This is the story of his battle with addiction, a devastating tragedy, and his ultimate fight for redemption.
If you feel like this story is worth telling, give us a like. And if you want to be a part of our musical community, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're at 1,180 subscribers, and your support means the world to us. Join the journey and never miss a story.
Following the breakup of Derek and the Dominoes and the overwhelming pain of his unrequited love for Pattie Boyd, Eric Clapton retreated from the world. For nearly 3 years, he was a recluse, living in a haze of heroin addiction at his home in Surrey, England. His life had become a cycle of drug use and despair, and his career seemed all but over. The guitar, which had always been his solace, now sat silent in a corner. His closest friends and family watched helplessly as he spiraled. It was a dark, lonely period for a man who had once been on top of the world.
But there was a spark of hope. Clapton's friends and fellow musicians, most notably Pete Townshend of The Who, staged a benefit concert to help him. The event, in 1973, was called the Rainbow Concert, and while Clapton's performance was shaky, it was a symbolic step toward recovery. Slowly, painstakingly, he began to get clean and re-engage with the world. He started releasing new music, like his 1974 album 461 Ocean Boulevard, which featured the hit single I Shot the Sheriff. The album was a commercial success, and it signaled a new, more relaxed and confident musical direction. The guitar virtuoso was back, but he was a different man, no longer God, but something more grounded and human.
Clapton's successful comeback led him into a more confident period of his career. He released albums like Slow Hand and Backless, which showcased a new, more refined and almost pop-friendly sound. During this time, the love story that had haunted him for a decade finally became a reality. He married Pattie Boyd in 1979, the woman who had inspired Layla. The unattainable love had been attained. For a time, it seemed like a true fairy tale ending, a man finding peace after so much turmoil. But the relationship was not a simple one. The pressures of his career and his struggles with alcohol put a strain on their marriage. The same passion that had fueled his masterpiece now began to unravel the very peace he had found. Their marriage eventually ended in divorce in 1989. For a man who had been defined by his intense emotional life, it was a difficult and public chapter. But just as one chapter closed, another began. In 1986, Eric Clapton had a son with Italian actress Laurie Del Santo, a boy named Connor. For the first time, Eric was a father, and it brought a new kind of purpose and joy to his life. Just as he was dealing with the end of his marriage, he had the beginning of a new, profound love.
But his hard-won peace was shattered by an unimaginable tragedy. On March 20, 1991, Clapton's 4-year-old son, Connor, died in a tragic accident. Falling from the 53rd floor window of a New York City apartment belonging to a friend of Connor's mother. The pain of this loss was incalculable. It was a grief so profound that many feared it would send him back to his darkest days. But instead of running from the pain, he channeled it. He picked up his guitar, and with a broken heart, he wrote one of the most powerful songs of his career, Tears in Heaven.
The song Tears in Heaven was a raw, heartbreaking tribute to his son. It was a song born from pure grief, and it resonated with millions around the world. It was a moment of incredible honesty and vulnerability for a man who had always hidden his pain behind a wall of bravado and musicianship. The song won multiple Grammy Awards and became his biggest hit, but for Clapton, it was simply a form of therapy, a way to process a pain that was too big to bear alone.
After his healing journey, Clapton returned to his first love, the blues. His Unplugged album became a phenomenon, and it was a stripped-down, soulful testament to his timeless talent. He embraced his role as an elder statesman of the genre, mentoring younger artists and ensuring the blues continued to find a new audience. He has continued to tour and record, always remaining true to his roots.
From the rebellious young man who earned a legendary title to the shattered soul who found redemption through a song, Eric Clapton's life has been a turbulent journey of genius and heartbreak. But through it all, he never stopped playing. And in the end, it was the music that saved him. And that concludes our series on Eric Clapton. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you for our next story.